morning, everyone. Welcome to Footy Classified. Two big preliminary finals to get to, so let's get straight into it and welcome our panel. One of the finest journalists in the country is Damien Barrett. Damo, great to have you as always.
Good evening, Sam.
The man with the medals, Jimmy Bartell. Welcome to you, James.
Good evening, Sam.
And the Essendon legend, the superstar from the red and black, Matthew Lloyd. Lordo, great to have you.
Thank you, Sam.
So much to get to tonight. We are going to preview two epic preliminary finals. We're going to talk about Charlie Curnow's future, the latest with the Melbourne Football Club, who have, of course, a new coach in Stephen King. But right now, all the news is pointed to one man, and that is the Essendon captain, Zach Merrett. And is it better for both parties if they look for Zach Merrett leaving?
If he wants to stay, of course you want him to stay.
What if he's looking around, though? But his head was turned by St Kilda last year. Imagine if a Hawthorn or a Geelong came knocking.
Yeah, it'd be turned harder if a big football club came to him with a serious offer, which I actually do feel could happen.
Yeah, I don't live under a rock. I'm certainly aware of that. You got to laugh a little bit. I think July's maybe a bit boring for journos this time of year to start speculating on things. I'm all in. I'm contracted for 2 more years. I'm the captain of the footy club. I've got so much trust in Brad. The strategy is a bit longer than I probably would hopefully have liked when I signed 4 years ago.
Their captain's name, Zach Merrett, it simply won't disappear from trade talk. Why is that?
It's because there's a high degree of disillusionment inside Zach Merrett.
He's frustrated at the lack of success that might be coming in the future.
The disillusionment is high.
This is getting quite insidious now. Like, this has been years of this.
There's no way Essendon can let him go. Essendon's ground should be, there's no way you're leaving Zach.
It's getting to the point, Jimmy, where I reckon it's becoming both unfair on Zach and unfair on the club if he's always considering leaving. I think they have to either come out and say he's staying for life or trade him.
Merrett and his wife were sold the brown and gold dream by Sam Mitchell, Mitchell's wife, and Hawks footy boss Rob McCartney at a private house last night. The Bombers were blindsided by Merrett and Mitchell's catch-up.
Now, this is the second club captain Sam Mitchell's met with in 1 year. The difference is our club captain is contracted for another 2 years. He's a contracted captain. Our club's position is that we will not be trading him under any circumstances.
All happening at Essendon, and their captain, Zach Merrett, is right in the thick of it. So you saw there on Footy Classified, we started talking about this, Lordo, as early as the start of July, really. And then, you know, I was standing at Sam Mitchell's press conference, Hawthorn were about to train, when Channel 9's own Tom Morris breaks the story that he's met in person with Sam Mitchell. And really, it's been chaos ever since that. He's met with Andy McGrath, who's come back, the vice-captain, of course, has come back from overseas. There now seems to be an acceptance at the Essendon Football Club that whatever happens, and they're still hopeful that he can play on next year, he won't be captain. So they're on the lookout for a new captain. And it would appear from the outside, Lordo, that it's going to be near impossible for him to walk back into that club.
Yeah, well, they have to now pony up, don't they, the Hawthorn Football Club, and satisfy the Bombers over the next... That's the position the Bombers are in. When you've got a 2-year contract and things like that, they have to satisfy. So I'm going to go through shortly what they potentially could ask for to get to be satisfied. But, yeah, there's been no winners out of this. Zach would be feeling flat, exhausted. The club's disappointed. There's been barbs going back and forth. So it hasn't been nice at all.
There's also a strategy put in place by the Essendon Footy Club in response to the meeting being made public last week. We saw in a matter of days the coach, the CEO and the president all speak on broadcast media. The president on his own platforms at Essendon Footy Club. Mason Redmond speaks to Cal Toomey. You can see the word disappointed there. Nick Martin speaks to The Age, Pete Ryan and Mark McGowan. And again, you can see the words there. Disappointed is there again. It's contextual. There's positive words amongst these conversations. And then Andrew McGrath spoke yesterday to Channel 7 as part of all of this wider policy and I suppose, strategy that the Essendon Footy Club have now got in place to counter what they feel was Zach Merrett more than comfortable having this story now played out publicly.
So, Damien, you've been in the industry a long time. How do you think this plays out? So would you believe that the club media department or whoever would go to these players and say, be willing to give quotes to the media because we need this from our side of...
Players were more than comfortable to make the comments. So I'd imagine, Lordo, that the actual placements in those various outlets was coordinated by the club itself. But, I mean, make no mistake, the players themselves did want to initially make the comments.
It makes it even more difficult when there's only one potential club involved. Already being contracted for another 2 years and captain, as we heard in all the play on. But if it was open, you're open to leave, and Essendon were able to seek the best trade available, well, then it would create an even better situation for the Bombers and actually force Hawthorn's hand if they wanted him. But the fact that he's only picked one club, it doesn't allow Essendon much room to wriggle. But they can still keep him, of course, and as you mentioned, Lloydie, Hawthorn will need to pony up.
Before I look at that, it's irreparable in my eyes. What do you think?
It can't be the captain, because you've come on and you said you're all in. You meet the coach, as we heard from Brad Scott, and then the following night you're meeting with the opposition coach. So it's incredibly difficult. I just want to know what they're going to do around the best and fairest. I don't think there's a perfect situation. If he could have held that meeting with Sam Mitchell till after the best and fairest, we wouldn't have this awkward situation.
What can they do, Jimmy? Because he's also expected by the AFL, and I spoke to the AFL tonight, to attend the Brownlow Medal on Monday and sit next to some of these teammates potentially who have been critical of him. So it feels like, Jimmy, the Merrett camp are going to have to get a game plan here.
Yeah, I think both camps would think they've got pretty strong hands. Of course, Essendon will play, he's 2 years and captain. We already have him. But Hawthorn could also be, you're the one Essendon's going to have to absorb this situation if he goes back.
But what about the Merrett camp? Like, do you think, let's say you go to the Brownlow, you're going to get stopped by Curnow, right?
Yeah, but surely his managers made him aware of that.
But what's his answer?
Well, yeah, I'm going to explore all my options. Just, you might as well be open. He's pretty much open to it now.
I was with Kevin Sheedy today and I caught up with him about something else, and it was back in the day when it was Paul Salmon was massive. Paul Salmon said, I need to go and get a new home. And Sheeds is the type to go, OK, a third club got involved as well, and Sheeds says, OK, I want to get Sean Wellman, who became an All-Australian centre-half back, and he said, I'll take Paul Barnett as well. I know. So I'm looking at now, Kevin Sheedy's mindset would be, OK, if you want him, well, what are we going to look at? So this is what I would do if I was Essendon. I'd start from the top, and I've got untouchables up there. But this is what Kevin Sheedy would be thinking. Well, Will Day, they'll go no. Josh Weddle, then I'm sure they'll go no. John Newcombe, no, and then Sicily's the captain. But then you start going, OK, who are the next available players? And I look at Lloyd Meek, for example. The Bombers don't have a ruckman. OK, well, what about Lloyd Meek and Connor McDonald, or is it Nick Watson? So that's what you've got to do. I think they've got enough draft picks that are going to come via finishing as low as they did, via Sam Draper, via the Jordan Ridley leaves, that you go, we'll take some of your best at Hawthorn, and they can only say no, and then you can always keep your player in Zach Merrett. So I don't mind the position the Bombers are in here.
It becomes a game of football chicken, really, and who's going to blink first, because... So I totally understand. Like, Essendon should be saying to contracted captain, like, we want overs for him. But Hawthorn are sitting there, and look, the cynic in me says Hawthorn and Zach Merrett are in constant contact throughout all this, right? That's just the cynical journo.
And they need to be to support Zach.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. But Hawthorn are sitting there thinking they've got a little bit more of the whip hand than others think, because they're saying, OK, well, we'll offer you something reasonable. We'll offer you pick 9 this year and first round next year. But if not, you keep him, guys. You keep him and you let him walk back into that club. For me, it feels like a win-win for Essendon. We either get your best player or we stuff up your culture. And this goes to the brutality of Hawthorn off the field, which we have seen under Sam Mitchell on the field.
And this is where his manager, Tom Petrora, has a massive job, doesn't he, to try and get Hawthorn to come to the deal and say, don't take my player all this way, and emotionally get him involved and have him have to go back. So that's where they play a part in getting them to...
And look, I honestly feel that Zach Merrett's working away from Tom Petrora in aspects of this. Not completely, but in aspects of it. And I say that because he's heard this messaging before from Essendon, hasn't he? I mean, he heard it back in 2022 when David Barham, who had already been on the board for 7 years as a director of the Bombers, came out and within days sacked Ben Rutten, rolled Paul Brasher as chair, forced the exit of Xavier Campbell, and then made these comments publicly about committing to change.
I don't think there's any doubt I'm an agent for some sort of change. You know, I think that's pretty clear. But and I do that on behalf of everyone. I'm doing that on behalf of the fans, the members, our supporters and our players. So I think we're now in a position where financially we're really strong. Everything's in great shape. And we need to start pouring more and more of our energy and resources and money into footy.
So that's August 2022, and the changes have come, but ultimately nothing has changed by way of making the captain of the football club any more confident that they are on the right track. Now, that period in question there, August 2022, was a period when they thought they were at least away from the drug saga, and they worked really hard to get out of that. But ultimately, right now, 3 years on from David Barham making those comments about being an agent, or sort of agent for change, in Zach Merrett's eyes, nothing has changed, and that's why he's going solo in some parts of this pursuit to get out.
That is true, and that's why I think there's fault on both parts. There's no doubt when I look at it that people within the club would think that Zach has not handled himself very well at all in this.
Should he be doing paid-for speaking gigs at this time of the year? Because we've all seen the ones that have been advertised. I mean, now this may seem harsh, right? I'm happy to cop this. So they're 4 of the great Essendon people, right? And it's called the captain. So it's Thursday, so it's Thursday week. You can go to Doncaster
Grand Final week.
And it's Grand Final week. Now, I don't begrudge anyone trying to make a little bit on the side. That's fine. But given what he's going through right now, given that basically his relationship with the club has completely disintegrated in the space of a week, he surely cannot turn up to that.
Well, I'd attend one as an individual on a panel, but that is all Essendon. I've been to those functions, and it's just passionate red and black people. So that's not one I would attend.
And he did one in Yarrawonga last Friday as well that we know of. So
why were you not up on that?
What's that? Because I'm here with Channel 9 doing that.
Like, we are a team.
Yeah.
We are a team here at Channel 9. Hey, the differing messages coming from both coaches. Zach Merrett. Brad Scott obviously was none too pleased. A lot of people would have seen the vision from 360. Pretty different take to what Sam Mitchell said after the win in Adelaide.
Oh, I think the world's changing. You know, there'd be a time and a place in which I'd be, you know, pretty disappointed. But the reality is now the gloves are off and all's fair in love and war, and that's the path they want to go down. Then, you know, we'll play at that game too.
Oh, I'm not going to get into any details, but our playing group and I couldn't have prepared any better for this game. Yep. That's what I would say.
You see, no regrets?
My job is to win as many games as I possibly can as the coach of this club and to improve this club in any way I see fit. So I'll continue to do that.
Unapologetic was Sam Mitchell. They didn't need Zach Merrett to beat the Crows on the weekend. The Crows themselves, well, they got some feedback.
Yeah, finals footy gives you feedback, doesn't it? And so we've got probably the best feedback we've had for a number of years. That we still got a fair bit of work to do.
Yeah, we got some good feedback the last couple of weeks, I think, on finals footy, and we just haven't been up to it yet.
It's hard. It was such a positive year, and so many good moments along the way. But I feel like we just probably got the feedback that we needed.
I think Jordan Dawson was right. They weren't up to it. They were belted and cleaned up in both finals, where I think it was mental, it was physical, it was strategy, it was the whole works, where they didn't handle the final series. And they hadn't been there since 2017, so that's a little excuse for them where they should be better for it next time. But the other aspect of it was Matthew Nick speaking about the 3 tall forwards, and now I ask the question, where does it leave Taylor Walker?
We did some stuff this year where we showed it can work. In finals footy, we'll go back and have a really good look at it, but maybe there is a need for a little bit more speed and a little bit more defence going the other way, but we didn't give our forwards a chance tonight.
I thought Tex on form has done enough to get another season, where they might say to Tex, just understand that you may have to play SANFL football, but he's good enough to be on the list. It's just whether they make that tough call on him. But I'd keep him on the list, and he might play 10 or 12 games.
Well, he was their best forward in the first final when he kicked 3 goals against Collingwood. But I felt it was through the middle of the ground, guys, where they just lacked a little bit of depth. And that is what they mean by feedback. You can identify holes on your list. Of course, had a high draft pick in Draper, who gets another pre-season as well to add to that. And Sam, I know a lot of talk is about Clayton Oliver potentially from Melbourne. He wouldn't be my first choice going there to the Crows. I think the likes of Flanders, which has been floated, moving out of the Gold Coast Suns, which is speed, attacking ball movement, creativity, can play multiple positions. If the word that Zach Bailey could be potentially lured out of Brisbane on a big contract, those types of players, which allows you to play the 3 of Rankin, Rochelle, and then one of those as a 3-way rotation, just adds another dynamic to their midfield.
So totally understand he wouldn't be like top of the list on the whiteboard, but let's say Flanders is half a grade to St Kilda, and Bailey's probably more that forward type that can go in there. If you were to get Oliver cheap, like they would have given 2 top 10 picks for him 2 years ago when they first looked at him, if he's going to cost you a lot less than that and Melbourne are paying half his contract, I just wonder whether the risk versus reward starts to outweigh there.
Yeah, it's a good question you ask, and a lot of clubs weigh that up. How much is it going to cost them, to throw at the stumps? But again, it all comes down to how much he's going to cost you on your books. But I'd still look for other options and look for younger options than Clayton Oliver. If you've got this plan to compete regularly for finals for the next 5 to 6 years, which it looks like what they're trying to build to.
Lordo, you more than anyone I know subscribes to the theory that some clubs need to experience finals adversity through a loss that Adelaide has now had ×2. Is there hope for what they've been through in 2025 that they can do it as other clubs have done? Even Hawthorn as an example, who fell short in week 2 last year and have already made week 3 this year.
Yeah, there is certainly hope, Damo, but as I said, I've been around Lee Matthews a lot and he talks about getting to top 4 is difficult. Like, you can make finals, but like what Hawthorn are doing now, they've got to the top 4. Like the Suns, no guarantee they get to the top 4 next year. You know, there's so many teams, like Fremantle will be hoping to get to the top 4. So Adelaide had 2 finals at home and they blew it. Like, they blew 2. You don't get a better opportunity than that. Yes, they'll be better for it, but how many teams lose a grand final like they did and you go, another opportunity will come?
And it hasn't.
And it doesn't come.
Yeah.
So no guarantees in footy.
No guarantees, and we saw there were no guarantees with the Melbourne Football Club. So many people thought it was a boat race for Nathan Buckley. It wasn't. It was Stephen King. So much to unpack here. Let's take a listen, first of all, how the Premiership coach at West Coast, Adam Simpson, saw the process play out. After that, you'll hear from Nathan Buckley himself, who spoke on Fox a short time ago.
It's just odd, I think, having a senior veteran coach, really coached for 8 or 9 years, 10 years, and then 4 or 5 assistant coaches going for the same process. I thought there would have been a conversation before this even started, just a 4 or 5 hour, let's go off site somewhere and let's just dig into each other and to see if it's the right fit. If it's the right fit, let's just make the call.
I had to risk sacrificing an opportunity to coach Melbourne to keep an opportunity to coach Tasmania because the timelines just didn't match up. I was more attracted to the Tasmanian job than I was to the Melbourne job.
So there you go. That's the first time we've really heard him say that. A very rare set of circumstances. I know we've spoken about it on radio, you two, but to be going after someone who you knew in the background was being chased by another club, Damo, but really it felt like something that could have been sorted out a lot earlier in the process. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so too. And if initially the timeline on the Melbourne process was grand final week, they brought it forward to prelim final week. Bucks asked for Tuesday of this week / Wednesday to get his head around how the Tassie offer can look. I just keep going back. There's no licence for Brendan Gale to offer Nathan Buckley. There's no contract. There's nothing to sign. The AFL hasn't granted the licence yet. So I'm intrigued
why did Melbourne
by
back
this.
themselves in there then, Damo? Like, why ask someone, if we were to offer you the job tomorrow, what would your answer be? How about just offer it to him? It's a weird way to run a process.
Well,
surely.
did they offer him the job? And that's the question I'm asking.
If you ask someone a question that is, if we were to offer you the job tomorrow, what would your answer be? That to me is that's a coward.
Did they
is too
it that
strong,
way?
but that is the easy way out of not offering someone the job when you want to.
But what's to say they didn't ask all the candidates that question as one of the many questions they asked?
Well, because the other candidates didn't have, like, their answer's going to be obvious. Their answer's going to be yes. So do you want the best candidate or do you want the candidate who's going to say yes?
There's a bit of retrofitting, I think, to what happened last week in those conversations. And they've all presented it in a way that can be believable, Sam, but they're not all going to be 100% factually truthful. And I'm not claiming to take sides on any of it, but there's something that doesn't quite wash on how the Melbourne process played out.
Doesn't fit, does it?
No, it doesn't fit.
But what about what Adam Simpson said there, where I don't agree with that, where, for example, it might be that Ross Lyon could have been available for Collingwood at the time or anybody, but you're up against Craig McRae. So does just because you've coached before mean that you're better than the person who hasn't been in the system for 10 or 20 years?
No, it doesn't mean... No, I totally agree. It doesn't mean that, but surely it means that you already know what you're in for, so they don't have to go through the same process. I mean, that was Brad Scott's whole point with Essendon, right? That's why he didn't go through the process at Carlton. Yeah. Now, he's not a premiership coach. He hasn't coached teams to multiple grand finals like Ross Lyon has.
It doesn't make it right. I just think that the guy, like, say, Adam Kingsley's, who's done a pretty good job at the Giants and all that. I just think just because you've coached before doesn't put you above somebody, unless you've won 3 premierships like Damien Hardwick.
And the successful candidate, Sam, he's making some big pledges on how he wants the Demons under his watch to look.
I just want them to probably play with a bit more freedom with ball in hand. I think we need to challenge teams in attack a little bit more, and I want our players to have freedom to get after the game, attack it, give our forwards a bit more of a look. The best teams in footy now challenge and move the ball fast, show a bit more dare to take the game on, and I want to encourage our playing group to play with that flair. And to lose 6 games by under 10 points last year, if bits and pieces go your way, things can change really quickly. So, yeah, we'll be chasing to be a contender in September again, that's for sure.
We want to play in a
attacking brand of football, defend with ball in hand. You know, we've got some work to do in terms of our run, but then we want to be scoring over 100 points a game. You know, that makes it then an attractive game to watch, means that people will come and watch it, and, you know, it's a method that he's seen at various clubs, including Geelong, and we think it can work with our team here.
Okay, you wanted to say in that interview as well that they're expecting to average over 100 points a game next year and play finals. So it's bold talk from the CEO, but it's probably what a lot of Melbourne fans want because they've been underachieving now for a long time. Speaking of underachieving, the Gold Coast Suns probably underachieved given that a couple of weeks before the end of the home and away season they were looking at finishing second or third, Lordo. They didn't. They had a great win in Freo, but they were well beaten by a much better team in the Brisbane Lions.
They were. Well under the Gold Coast Suns. They had a fabulous year and that final in Perth was brilliant, but they were taught a lesson. They'll learn a lot too. But did Damien Hardwick miss a trick? So did he miss a trick in not going after Hugh McCluggage after the struggles he had with Mullen? Like, people are saying, is there something wrong with his knee? He just didn't look like to move. But there's nothing wrong with his knee because he dominated against the Gold Coast Suns, just that they let him run free. So maybe you do stick to what you know, which is Hardwick, who doesn't really tag. But Hugh McCluggage would have taken a huge deep breath and say, how lucky is this? I haven't got Mullen. Whereas on the flip side, Matty Rowell had Dunkley all over him. So I think they did miss a trick there, the Gold Coast Suns.
There's a level of intrigue about the availability, possibly, of Charlie Curnow. He wants to go to one of Geelong, Sydney or the Gold Coast Suns, and everyone's been pretty tight-lipped on how they respond to this. And you do wonder, though, now what could happen post this semi-final loss. And also, too, Hardwick spoke about that, and also Flanders.
Oh, look, list management will be a little bit... Look, it'll come to fruition. What we do know is we're very happy with our keys in Ethan and Kingy and Jed. We think is going to be a wonderful player for us. What we do know is we are looking to improve our list, but we'll address those over the coming months. And I love him. Look, so as far as I'm concerned, Sam's one of our best players, and I don't love trading our best players.
I think it's a massive watch this space, the whole Curnow situation.
What do you think happens, Damo?
I think he leaves Carlton.
You think he goes?
I think he leaves Carlton. Wow. I feel the Swans are the team that are right now in front, but we know it's not over until October 15, 7:30 p.m. deadline. That's about the time we'll probably hear the result.
That's a big story. I've never heard someone confidently say he'd go.
Because I don't think they will give up one of their big four. So I don't see how the Swans could do it if they're not willing to part with those four players.
They can't go into another year without a proper forward. Now, whether Curnow's the right answer for that club, I don't know. But they've tried it. They've got to a grand final with those three. I know they were a bit banged up in that grand final on that day when they failed in 2024, but they didn't get near it this year without them.
He sat at this desk the best part of 4 months ago and for the first time raised Charlie Curnow. So if he's saying that...
Blakey, Heaney, Warner, Goulden. It's got to be one of them.
It won't be Warner.
Blakey, Heaney, Warner, Goulden.
I'm not sure who else for Charlie.
Well, they're not going to give up Heaney, Warner or Goulden. No. So unless it's Blakey and something, I can't see it getting done.
Lordo, you touched on Hugh McCluggage' great night, and Josh Dunkley was the Bobby Boucher, just tackling everyone left, right and centre, but there was some pure class in the midfield. Will Ashcroft, 28-2, and sides are starting to go at him, and one side that goes at him all the time is the Gold Coast Suns. This is him the game after being sledged.
It was a little bit personal probably, and, went after probably Levi as well, and I, physically and verbally, and that's happened, at different stages playing the Suns in the past, not just in the pre-season. So, playing them's always, a bit more of a bigger game, I think. But, yeah, the best way to silence that discussion is to perform your best in big finals.
Well, he certainly did silence some of those. He just kept going at the footy all night. He didn't shirk the contest. The thing is, in big games, he hits the scoreboard. He loves putting himself in those stoppages, in those contested situations. We know his running power. When the game's in the balance, he tries to overlap pretty hard. Gets a lot of 1-2s, but that actually creates, 50, 60-metre plays for the Lions, gets them in really good attacking positions.
Jimmy, I love how open he was there, and I love how it's clearly been something that he has stored away and used at the appropriate, opportune time.
Yeah, what a bounce back. A big knee injury early in his career, comes back, Norm Smith medalist, and just one of the powerhouses in the midfield for the Lions.
Bobby Boucher.
Yep, the tackling feel.
I like it. Hot start on Footy Classified, and things are only going to get hotter. We've got two massive prelims to unpack. That man Jimmy and Lordo are going to tear them both apart. Hawk Dylan Moore, he's going to join us ahead of the ultimate grudge match between the Hawks and the Cats. There he is, Dylan. Plus, the huge selection calls facing Craig McRae, including that man, Jeremy Howe, and that man, Bobby Hill. Who plays and who doesn't? It's all coming up on Footy Classified. Until we meet again, it's Saturday twilight. It is going to be a huge preliminary final, a replay of the 23 grand final. It's the Pies and the Lions, and it's an equally big week for selection headaches for the Magpies, including Jeremy Howe and Bobby Hill. Nick Dacos on the Sunday Footy Show. I reckon it's the biggest indication yet that Hill is closing in on a recall.
Yeah, I think he'd have to be a chance. Obviously, it's in Fly, the coaching staff, and the strength and conditioning's hands. But he's been turning up to training lately. He's been training really strongly. He's just been his energetic self, which I think is the main thing that we want to see. We want to see Bobby happy, and we know he plays great footy on the back of that. So, as I said, he's been training really strongly the last few weeks, and no doubt if he gets his opportunity on Saturday, he'll be ready to go, which is exciting to think.
You've been cautious, Lordo. Are you coming around to the idea?
Slowly, because I'm big. I'm 9 out of 10 times I'm picking the fit player. So it's Parker and it's Steele who have played. So
and historically, it can blow up in your face.
And these are some of them. And there's been some success stories too, as well. But they didn't miss much football. We're talking that. Bobby Hill has played one full game in 86 days.
Right.
And Jeremy Howe has played one full game in 79 days. So this is the risk. So you can't play two of them. If you're going to go with one of them, that's where the subs are bonus. Where if you're going to go with one of them, you can only play
so
one.
Absolutely cannot play both.
No, there's no way I don't think Craig McRae.
And do you then make that decision and then follow that up again in a grand final if they get through?
Yeah, that's a good point, Damo. Whether it's horses for courses, what team you're going to play and what you suit most. And Jimmy and I are going to go through potentially where Howe could fit this game and where Bobby Hill could fit. So it's an interesting decision that McRae has to make.
The teams that have made the prelim finals this year, they just get it right. Take a look at how often they've appeared in the second last week of the season since the turn of the century. The top three there, Geelong, Collingwood, Brisbane, that's more recent times. Hawthorn, though, as we know, won 3 flags in a row, 13, 14 and 15, and are now back where they ultimately feel they belong.
It's an amazing graphic, Damo, isn't it?
It
when
really
you think
is.
about the success of those clubs.
Yeah, and the Swans, who had a lull this year, but pretty much every other year they're up there as well.
All right, it's becoming the best part of Footy Classified. It's time for the final spotlight with Lordo and Jimmy.
Thanks, Sam. We're going to look at Collingwood and the Brisbane Lions, Jimmy, first. And I'm going to put some selection questions to you, and that is, so Dunkley did a magnificent job on Matty Rowell. So does he go today? So let's take a look at what Dunkley did. It was outstanding. He's just as honest and as good as they come. Do you send him? So this is what he does. He puts the clamps on you. So is Nick Dacos the right matchup, or does he not suit him? Or would you send him to Jordan De Goey, potentially?
Yeah, great question, Lordo. And we know the physicality of Dunkley. He likes to push his direct opponent into the contest. And I reckon at different times he'll have Dacos if De Goey is playing as a forward, because we see when Nick breaks outside the bubble and he gets those shoulders out, he can hit any kick in the game. It's outside the foot, he can find the ball on the angle. But when De Goey comes in the midfield, it's worth the consideration of taking De Goey, because we know he can get out forward side and hit the scoreboard at big moments. So I can actually see him playing on both. I know that doesn't give the one answer you're after, but because De Goey's going to spend a fair bit of time forward, I reckon they'll trust their defenders to take him when he's forward.
Yeah, I'd go after Dacos first, but I'm not sure he's the right matchup for him, Jimmy. The wings of the Brisbane Lions.
Obviously, Ollie Dempsey had a fantastic game against the Lions, and he came off the wing. And it's a bit of a concern for me sometimes when you're playing another midfielder, not a winger. It's always a discussion. Ollie Dempsey was on the ground here, and the winger here, which was Ashcroft, Levi Ashcroft, was left up on the wing there. And so it's the ability to slide forward off the wing. So what wings do now is they almost go point post to point post. They keep their lane. They get really hard inside forward 50, because it's a good start to start your defence, but a good attacking option. Steele side bottom, which comes past your leg shortly. Look at this. You keep your width. You don't get caught in, but you're an attacking option. So Brisbane have got to be really careful on the other wing, because Berry plays obviously one wing really defensively. But if they put a midfield type, they've got to play the wing role correctly. You're not just another inside mid.
There's matchups that I'd pay just to go and watch, and one of them is Braden Maynard v Cameron Rayner. How good would that be if we can get this? So I loved his game in that first final. I've shown this a number of times. The player I'd want to run down the race with. So you've got that. And he's quite explosive himself. And I thought Cameron Rayner's second final was huge.
This is the classic two bulls in the top paddock, and they certainly butt heads pretty strongly. And it's about sticking tackles. And Cam Rayner will take that tackle on, and Maynard will be up for it. And you can imagine that matchup, Lordo. But Collingwood's defensive work Of course, Maynard will lead that with the matchups, but you've been really impressed with where they've been as a unit.
Yeah, because Brisbane are the most deadly offensively. So you got one of the best defensive teams in Brisbane versus this, and this stands up. This is why they're in the last four, Collingwood, because even when they've lost their way, in offence and attack, they've still got this. So the number one points against, and that always holds well, Jimmy, in finals.
Yeah, and structurally against the Crows, they brought that extra forward up, which created a bit of a contest. And then they had that number, which would be Pendles or Chris dropping off, which forces the ball long in high, which gives Moore and their defence a chance to come peel off and intercept the footy but help out. But
you kicked 6 last time, Jimmy.
Yeah, because they were able to get the ball through the front and actually break the bubble. So it actually, look at this, Moore's turned around, their defensive group is turned around. They're not coming to help out, so that's on the lead, and you get the mismatches. So I think they've made some structural changes.
So Billy Frampton didn't play that game, so Charlie Dean was on Logan Morris there. So I think if I'm sending Frampton to Logan Morris, I want to know what happens with Howe. So this is a selection dilemma. So here's Jeremy Howe going forward. So he broke his arm that time or had that bad injury, and he went forward for a period of time. So he could be a wild card. So who picks up Harris Andrews? I'm wondering, do they send Billy Frampton forward to allow for this bloke to go back, or could Jeremy Howe play first game back on him?
Yeah, he could play forward, but I could see big Mason Cox actually playing. His role is play back shoulder of Harris Andrews, because he's got the height, the physicality, and let Harris Andrews take you to the game, because we know what Big Maso did well in the first final. It's just create a contest, and that's all you need if you're in that one-on-one versus Harris Andrews.
I flip-flopped on this tip, Jimmy. I didn't know. I've gone with Collingwood.
Yes.
Based on having a week's break in the defensive side. So who are you going for?
I'm going the Pies by 4 points.
Ooh, very rare that you two agree in the tipping of the final spotlight.
I've been very good in the finals.
Looking forward to it. Dylan Moore, the Hawthorn star, is going to join us before Lordo and Jimmy unpack the other second big, huge preliminary final. We'll be right back on Footy Classified.
They've taken the hard road, but the hard-nosed Hawks are headed back to a preliminary final where they will meet one of their great foes, the Cats.
Low, straight, beauty. Now Joe can kick this, and he has. He's had the best 5 minutes of his footy life. Hawthorn, the champions.
Lewis will kick his second. He kicks it. The Hawks are done with. He kicks the goal. The Cats are alive.
This is a physical encounter, boys.
Buddy, could he do it? Could he do it?
Johnson! Soccer's another one.
That's it. The Cats have won another thriller against the Hawks. The Cats have done it again. It is the Cats by 2 points.
Cats lead by 3 points. Can you believe it?
Another classic between the Cats and the Hawks. And Geelong prevails again.
They've done it again. They've done it again, the Cats.
Good looking kick, but he's hooked it. Geelong have won. Burgoyne to put them in front. He doesn't miss.
That's the hearse for the curse. They've won. Hawthorn have won. Hawthorn to the grand final.
Yes, one of modern footy's great rivalries. Welcome back to Footy Classified. It is a huge preliminary final on Friday night. It's the Hawks and it's the Cats, and one man who will be there for the brown and gold is one of their stars, Dylan Moore, who joins us from home. Dylan, welcome to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
I just want to ask you about the build-up. Your coach said after the win on the weekend, prelims are great, but we haven't achieved anything yet. We're here to win a flag. How long has that very much been driving you, that you've got to this point of the season and say, OK, we've had a great year, but now we actually get the proper chance of winning one?
Yeah, I think it came straight after the game. We had our team meeting and Sam straight away said, enjoy it for the next 10, 20 minutes. It's a great achievement, winning 2 finals on the road, but we're playing next Friday night against the Cats, prelim final. This is what we're here for. This is what we want to play for. And so we probably celebrated for a good 30, 40 minutes in the change rooms, just having some laughs. But then as soon as we got back to the club today, it was, no, let's look forward to this week and the big challenge ahead.
Dylan, I've been involved in a lot of those rivalry games, and of course a preliminary final is as big as it gets. But I know under Bomber Thompson and Chris Scott and even Alistair Clarkson, they embrace the rivalry. Has Sam Mitchell embraced the rivalry, Geelong and Hawthorn?
Nah, not yet. Today was still a lot about last week and how we performed, what we need to work on for this week. And I think we've got a day off tomorrow. We're back into the club Wednesday, and then he'll probably build it up. But every time we play the Cats, as you know, it's game on. It's the rivalry that has lasted for 30 or 40 years now, and every time we play the Cats, it's a little bit more meaning than most games. And I think growing up as a kid, I was a Hawks fan, and all I wanted to do was play Easter Monday, and now to play the Cats on a Friday night, MCG prelim final, I can't wait.
What do you make of the build-up to it? So, see guys like Jack Ginnivan, who's been sore, and I'm sure you're sore, and the build-up for you guys of playing continuously versus Geelong, who, that's been the talk of since the buys come in after the home and away round, where it may suit a team who's on a roll versus one who's had more of a break. Where do you sit on that?
Yeah, I think we've tried to flip it a little bit and just said we've got a lot of experience now. We've played 2 finals, and a lot of us haven't really played many finals. And you look at Geelong, a bit older and a bit more experienced with their finals, whereas for us, a lot of us are new to September football, and every time we play another final, we say, how good's this? We get to play another final in front of a big crowd, and we're trying to flip the script a bit and say, let's just keep this momentum going. And yeah, obviously the Cats might be a bit fresher, but we feel like we're playing really good football and the snowball's building, so let's keep it rolling.
A man who's a bit fresher than most, of course, coming back from the injury, and you know really well, and he excites everyone, Josh Weddle. Where does he eventually play his full-time role? We know he can play back, he can play on the wing, he can play forward, he's breathtaking in all the positions, he captures everyone's attention. But if he was to settle down in one position, where would it be?
Yeah, I think it'll be a slightly different answer. If you ask him, he'll say he'll play 100% of game time and play everywhere, and he'll just pick where he wants to go. But for most of us, I think, literally put him anywhere and we'll kick him the ball. So he's kind of like our Mr. Fix-It. He can go back and put a hole in there, and then he'll go onto the wing and run up and down the ground all day. And then, Mitch Lewis gets subbed off, we put him forward, and he has a few shots on goal. So I think he can play anywhere, but I'd love to see him run through the midfield at some stage as well.
Dylan, clearly your pressing concerns are this Friday night and then potentially the following Saturday, but good footy clubs always have the big picture in mind. Are you brought into the possibilities around Zach Merrett, given that that was a public story of last week and one that Sam Mitchell is clearly engaging in?
I guess we're always looking at the bigger picture, but this time of the year, we're strictly football, and as players, we don't have anything to do with the recruiting, especially this time of the year. It's up to the club, and I know, Sam's obviously caught up with Zach, but as players, we've stayed out of it for the minute. But, whenever there's an A grader that wants to come into the football club, we'll welcome him with open arms.
Yeah, so just to clarify, were you asked about the approach before he did it?
No, I wasn't.
No.
One man that I think fascinates us all who's currently with your club, Dylan, and that is Jack Ginnivan. And we saw what happened at the airport when you guys landed. He had half the South Australian media basically looking for him. I mean, there's a really fun element to it, and he handled it exceptionally well. You're one of the leaders of the club. Like, what's going through your head at a time like this? Because on one hand, I assume you're thinking about the team and, OK, could this be a distraction? And on another hand, you're probably personally thinking about Jack and, as a teammate, as a friend, is he okay with stuff like this happening? It would be a difficult balancing act.
Yeah, there's probably 2 pieces to that. It's firstly, how's Jack feeling? And we've got a good relationship, and probably our forward line, we're all quite close. And as soon as he hopped on the bus, it's, how was it? How'd you go with it all? And we got to Adelaide Oval, and first thing Adrian Hickmott said was, all right, Jack, how have you gone with this week? We know that there's a lot of media on you, so we're very open and honest with that and how he was going, and he dealt with it really well, to be honest. It was like a bit of a movie. It was weird at the airport. A lot of us were just hanging back watching it, and there was 10 cameras around following him for 400 metres. It was a little bit out of hand, but the way he handled it was amazing.
I think you're travelling really well in most areas. Your defence is strong, midfield strong. The small forwards is great, but you just mentioned Lewis there being subbed out. We've seen Deer subbed out. So the question is, do you rely too much on Jack Gunston?
No, I don't think so. I think Jack's in unbelievable form, and the way the ball movement's going at the moment is he's getting a lot of licks of the ice cream. Like Nick Watson's been dominating the last few weeks as well, and Mitch has probably been playing a bit more of a role. Kelsh is playing a bit more of a role, just bringing the ball to ground, and we know they've had very interrupted years at the moment, so they're trying to find some good form, and at the moment things aren't completely clicking for them, but you see Margot Chol stand up in crucial moments. I don't think we're relying on Jack too much. But when he's in form like this, we'll keep kicking him the footy.
Dylan, we've all been, as watchers of footy, enamoured with the Hawthorn story so far this year. We hope there's at least one more week in it for you. Thanks for coming on and thanks for the access. Good luck on Friday night.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Dylan Moore, very generous with his time. Their opponents have had some issues to deal with as well, Damo, including the latest iteration in what's been a pretty interesting year for that man, Bailey Smith. Some ugly scenes at training last week.
Yeah, they were, Sam, and I feel that it was behaviour that did come under the respect and responsibility requirements of AFL players under the code of conduct that all people involved in the game need to operate under with what he did. Now, I know he apologised and he did send a text to the photographer in question.
Alison Wind, yep.
Alison Wind, yeah, I can't line up with the AFL doing absolutely nothing on this, just walking past it. I know there were conversations behind the scenes, but nothing was said publicly in any meaningful way about what he did. And
are you disappointed in the AFL for that?
Yeah, I am, and I can't line it up with how they felt the need to come down and fine Kenny Hinkley last year 20 grand for daring to say you're not flying anywhere, Jack, after a game of football in the context of that week's build-up to that particular final. I'm just raising that. That's an issue that they felt they need to fine someone on, a whole 20 grand, which I didn't get at the time, don't get it now, and I don't get how you can walk past the Bailey Smith issue without any form of addressing it publicly under the respect and responsibility.
Let's go back to the final spotlight.
Thanks, Sam. What a game this is going to be on Friday night. Your Cats, Jimmy, versus the Hawks. And what a rivalry it's been. And they're both in ripping form. And John Newcombe is the best midfielder in the game right now. He's a final specialist. So he was too good, wasn't he, over the week? They tried Berry. It didn't work in the matter of moments.
Yep, most dominant midfielder in the finals at the moment. He's been physical. He got them started in both finals. Of course, up there, Angie staying the Giants. But his first 5 minutes was spectacular against the Crows. He was physical. He drove the ball forward.
Superb. So Mullen was superb on McCluggage. But is he big enough? Or do you go, OK, give Mullen the job, or do you go Dangerfield head-to-head? Because Danger did spend a lot more time in the midfield against Brisbane.
Yeah, well, clearly Danger is a big physical beast. And I think there'd even be a consideration of Mark O'Connor, who does a run-with role as well, because obviously he played on Cam Rayner for the Lions, who's a bit bigger and more physical, and Mullen can play back on one of the many small forwards, which we'll touch on shortly. So I wouldn't be surprised if O'Connor comes up to the midfield and Mullen goes back to the half-back line.
Ward and Atkins you like too?
Yeah, as we focus on Newcombe and Smith and obviously Holmes, I love these two guys at both their sides. They're almost called quality control for the midfield. So what they do is they set up around others, they go about their business. Huge work rate. The energy and work rate you need to play the way Atkins and Ward play is enormous, because not only are you getting contest to contest, you're physical, you're getting in, you're bumping bodies, you're laying tackles, and you obviously do the unsung stuff. You give off the little handballs to bring your teammates into play, and you're constant outnumber. So these two, even though we won't highlight them, the way both of their sides will go will be off the back of how well these two go. Jimmy, look at this, Ward just overlapping and overlapping.
Wanted to show this man Weddle, because Dempsey has troubled everyone. So no one knows how to play against Geelong on the wing, but what a match-up that would be if it's Weddle v Dempsey on the wing against each other, because Weddle played on the wing. Isaac Cumming didn't know how to handle him because of his athleticism. So Dempsey's troubled everyone going back and forward. Well, Weddle can do the same thing to him.
It'll be a great game of marks up or Jack in the pack if they kick it up to those two.
Yeah, Geelong's defence, I don't think they got enough credit for it against Brisbane. So we all love their ball movement, Jimmy, but their pressure just intimidated the Lions.
Yeah, we highlighted it with Collingwood, but Geelong do it as well. And if you don't have the footy, at least create a good loss. And by that I mean is you force the opposition to quick kick or you scramble it out, because we all know with Geelong they're always going to try and generate the spare defender. And the only way that works is pressure on, up the ground, quick kicks, dirty ball from the opposition where they get the outnumber at the contest.
Some teams don't have one elite forward, whereas both these teams have four, Jimmy. Have a look at this.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We've seen Myers come up into the forward line. Manor works all the way to the half-back line, close. Stenkel probably plays a little bit closer, and we know the form of Nick Watson. Dylan Moore's an All-Australian. Guinea can find the footy, and McDonald's been popping up in the finals. This is a mouth-watering matchup. The four best small forwards as a pack for each side.
The Cats are my premiership tip now, so I'm going with them, Jimmy.
I think it's going to be the Cats 1 point. I think we're going to have another big moment out of these two.
It's going to be hard for Jimmy to tip the Hawks. Plenty more coming up on Footy Classified, including the Sledgehammer. It's next.
I'm not sure why AFL footballers want to be goalkeepers, because it's a different game, but it was Mark Keane, the first contest. This one's been seen a bit, so come up on your player. I'm not sure if every forward loves when a defender does that, and Sam Collins, he was no better. So this game against the Brisbane Lions, first goal for Logan Morris. Look at him. No point. You're away standing in the goal square, so you don't need to be there. Players losing their feet. The first thing I was taught as a kid, do not lose your feet. You get punished. So that was Michael Annie, lost his feet. The rest is history with Hawthorn, so there's one. The next one was Murray from the Crows. Lose your feet, you are gone. Hawthorn made them pay. And the next one was Tech's team to be low on confidence in this game of footy. The Texan, just losing your feet, falling over. So that would be something they'd look at, whether to go with him with the next game or next season. The Suns, well, they panicked. Ainsworth, handball over there, nothing worse than when that happens, because there was a panic in that game. And then Took Miller. Look at that handball. Straight to Jasper Fletcher, who punished as well. Mac Andrew, some players don't put on weight, and Mac Andrew needs 5-6 kilos to put on over this off-season. So, yes, Rayner is one of the strongest players in the game, but he's got to put on that 5 or 6 kilos to make those tackles. And Jack Scrimshaw, no one talks about him much because of the stars of the opposition, of his team, you know, in Barras and Battle and these types. But his last 2 finals, he's been brave, he's been courageous, and he's in great form.
Great work, Lordo. The final Sledgehammer of the year absolutely did not disappoint. Yes, it is the final good call, bad call of the year. Jimmy Bartell has hogged the new ball, and he has it again. Jimmy, when it's not your night, it's not your night. Good call, bad call.
This could be a good call from you, Sam. Dimmer here. It's just not going his way. The chair is packed it in. Oh, no. The Suns, unfortunately, packed it in for the year, so good call from you, Sam.
Very good.
Hey, Sam, to you. Brad Scott has misjudged his team's place in the football landscape. Good call, bad call.
No, that's a nasty call. That's a vindictive call. I know you and the Scotts have a little bit of history call, but you're referring to this, I think.
Other clubs are jealous of Essendon supporters because what they've been through, other clubs might capitulate. Our club will still be here in another 150 years, and they'll stick with us and they'll see through the vision, and we'll go through some short-term difficulties, but it'll make it all worthwhile in the end.
They're a proud club with proud supporters. Bad call from you, Damo.
Damo, with friends like Jared Healy, you don't need enemies. Good call, bad call.
It's a good call, Lordo. We'll take a listen to what Jared said during the week, though.
What Damien Barrett has gone and spruiked on a podcast. I won't say it was almost defamatory, but it was the level before almost defamatory is what he said. So he is.
Well, you're the expert at that level.
He knows what he's talking about, Jared. He is a good fan of this show, so good call.
Lordo, Luke Bruce just deserved better. Good call, bad call.
Good call, Jimmy. He's been a legend of the game, Luke Bruce, but unfortunately that's football. There's nothing worse than injuries, and we all get them. The longer you play, the more likely you are to. But congratulations, Luke Bruce, on just a wonderful career.
Well said, Lordo. Damo, to you, there is no such thing as too silly during the AFL silly season. Good call, bad call.
Xavier Ellis is what the man you're referring to, Sam. We'll listen to him first.
So, no fairy tale return to Freo for Lachie Neale, but the club up the road should take a serious look, according to our premiership hero, Xavier Ellis.
I'm going to say I think it's a great fit for West Coast. Lachie Neale, I don't know, might cost a second round, but at least those young kids have got someone to look up to, someone to drive sandwich, someone to impress. Absolutely love it if they could get Lachie Neale to the club.
It's a bad call from you, Sam, because you're underestimating Zave's X's ability to read the play. So, bad call.
I didn't say that at all.
Sam, to put on a press hat, you need to take off your club slippers. Good call, bad call.
No, that's a bad call. It's a misleading call from you. I looked up for a long time during my young journalistic days to Julian De Stoop, who was a wonderful journalist. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a bad moment. This was one for Julian.
Sam McClure, I like to call this flogging a dead horse.
Oh. Their captain's name, Zach Merrett, it simply won't disappear from trade talk. Why is that?
Why is that, Sam? Because you keep bringing it up. Every time you're hosting Footy Classified, you bring it up. That's why it won't go away. He's contracted to 2027. He doesn't have to say anything about beyond that.
Sorry, Jules, had to.
Hey, Jimmy, the pride of South Australia comes before a fall. Good call, bad call.
I think you're talking about the great Mark Rasciuto, which I'm already going to start with. It's a bad call.
42 years was the last time a minor premier went out in straight sets. And the more I talk, the more confident the big Rasciuto gets.
Should I just pop the champagne
well,
or not?
You just about can.
Yes, Mark Rashudo. I can never say a good call for that 8-time All-Australian. He's a legend, Rashudo.
And, Lordo, to bring it home, it's critical for journalists to provide fair, unbalanced reporting no matter the topic. Good call, bad call?
Bad call, Damo. I love this from it's Jalissa Apps, who spoke about her sport, rugby, here.
But anyway, guys, huge wrap up the finals, and I hate this sport.
Hang in there.
We do feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a great sport. Yeah. It's not a great sport. AFL is a great sport. We'll be back more with Closing Cook.
Sam, I want to congratulate you. You've done an outstanding job as host this year. We're up 26% in the ratings on last year, so congratulations. But just want to go back a week to where you let yourself down. I felt sorry for him. He just had no friends. He was all alone, just looking for something and searching for someone to give him something, give him some love. He was looking for high fives and handshakes. There he is, Scoop, no friends.
You're reheating old soup.
Look at him. You think I'm reheating old soup.
Well,
we gave you some feedback.
Yep.
But you went to Adelaide for the Hawthorn Crows game.
There's no vision. I actually know that.
And you let yourself down again. So I'm calling you today, Sam Liniment Sniffer McClure. There he is. You're at it again. We can look at you.
Sam.
Damo, come on. Sam.
I couldn't be further away from the action.
No, Sam.
You know where the cameras are.
I can't believe this.
You're better than that.
And now you've tipped into me as well. All days I've got the best cook. I can't wait for the cook. I thought he's been creative.
I only got you 6 times this year, so...
It's like the Lost Dogs home.
Lost Dogs, yeah.
Oh, now you've gone with Lost Dogs home. Very good. Hey, we've got Footy Classified. We've finished for the year on Monday, but we are not finished for the year tomorrow. It is still Eddie, Tom, Rory and Hurdy who will be back at 8:45 tomorrow. Do not miss that. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched Footy Classified. Damo, Jimmy, Lordo have had outstanding years. Thank you to our producer, our EP, our boss, Chris Thompson, the production team, James Regan, Thomas Gilbert, Luke Corder, our editors, Connor Brady and Luke Jackson do an unbelievable job. They are the best in the business. The big boss, the head of footy at 9 is Matt Conway. Thank you to him. We have the best social media producer in the business, Anthony Darcy, our director, Matt Wiedemann, all the team in the control room, everyone at Channel 9 and the crew on the floor, Archie standing next to the camera giving me the timeout. We appreciate you as always, and we appreciate you for watching. We'll see you next year on Footy Classified.